Well, good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott Manning coming live from Scott Manning YouTube Sports Talk. I want to thank all of my loyal viewers for being with me here this morning. I got to take a few minutes. Today, it's not NBA talk. It's not going to be talking. Well, I'm not talking about the NBA today. We got some college football that needs to be talked about. I know it's mid-June and I know the season starts, but it's going to be September before we know it. I have 8 teams to watch out for in this coming college football season, and I got some marquee. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about each team, and each team has some very important games on their schedule that need to be addressed. So I'm going to go ahead and address that today. And I want to thank all of you guys for being in here, but I'm just going to go ahead and just jump right into it. The first team that comes to my mind is the Alabama Crimson Tide. Yes, they went 13-1 last year and won the national title by a fluke. They have 2 important matchups this season, in my opinion. The first one is against Auburn on November 24th. And the other matchup is right in the first game of the season against Louisville. Nick Saban's got a lot of his guys coming back. He has his team coming back this season. They did lose some players last year. They lost some defensive starters, but Alabama, as always, is a team to watch. And now there's a new rule in college football that says they can transfer out. Any player can transfer whenever they want, when they want. I think that may hurt Saban a little bit. But anyway, Alabama, you got to consider them as the front runner and the favorite. But can they beat Auburn? That's the big question. That's the rivalry matchup. They're going to always jump out and bite them. It's happened to them before, and could it happen again? Or could they possibly lose to Louisville? I don't know. But I'm telling you, Alabama is always the team to watch in college football. And then however the season goes for Alabama, it will always go for the rest of the season, for the rest of the team. The next team I got to watch, now Alabama's in the SEC West. The next team I'm going to have on the watch list is coming out of the SEC East, the Georgia Bulldogs. Last year, Georgia surprised everybody, got all the way to play for a national championship. Unfortunately, they came up short. I have 3 games on there. I got 3 games of special interest for Georgia. First one is on October 27th against Florida. The Florida-Georgia Classic, which used to be known as the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And in my opinion, it still is. However, another one that the fine folks of the University of Georgia ought to think about, Tennessee on September 29th. Keep that in mind. Remember a couple years ago down in Athens when Juwan Jennings caught that Hail Mary at the end of the game to give Tennessee the victory over Georgia? A lot of Georgia fans have it. And another game to watch out for is LSU on October 13th. And I'm telling you, Kirby Smart's got a lot of his players coming back. They did lose Nick Chubb. That's a big loss to them. However, Kirby Smart says he's going to have his troops ready. He's going to have a whole new team, a whole new look. Will Georgia get back to the national championship glory that they should have had last year? Only time will tell that. They finished 13-2 last season. They won the SEC East. They won the SEC championship. Got all the way to the college football playoff final. Got all the way, beat Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield. But they came up short against Alabama. Anything can happen in the SEC. There's no such thing as an easy Saturday in the Southeast Conference. Games coming down, high scoring, coming down to the last seconds. It's a typical Saturday down south. What can you say? I'm telling you. Georgia, Alabama. Those are going to be the 2 teams to watch in the SEC. Alabama out of the West and Georgia out of the East. I would have loved to see those 2 face. I would have loved to see those 2 face off during the season because I would pay top dollar to be there. But it is what it is. Now, another team that I have on my watch list, the University of Southern California, USC. They finished 11-3 last season with a loss in the Cotton Bowl to Ohio State. Now, USC's not going to have it easy at all. They start out the second week of the season on September 8th. They got to go on the road to Stanford, and then on the 15th of September, they got to go to Texas to face. They got to get down to Austin to face Texas, and then there's 2 more very important games coming up. UCLA on November 17th at the Coliseum, and then Notre Dame on the 24th of November. USC's not going to have Sam Darnold because he went to the NFL. The question is, what can USC do? It's up to a freshman quarterback to get the job done this time for Southern California. Now USC did finish 11-3 last year. But this time around, they've got to go on the road to Stanford. They've got to go on the road to Texas, and that's not fun. Then they got to face UCLA later in the year. And then they got Notre Dame on the 24th. Notre Dame USC is always that's a rivalry game. You can say what you want. You can try to beat around the bush, but I'm telling you, USC is going to have a hard season. It ain't going to be easy because you start right out with Stanford and Texas right out of the gate. That's already bad enough. Now, speaking of Texas, let's talk about the Longhorns for just a second. Last year they finished 7-6 and had a disappointing year. Their schedule's not easy either, if it makes USC feel any better. Now, Texas has USC on the 15th of September. But Texas has to face TCU on the 22nd, the week after that battle against Southern Cal. And then on October 6th, they got to face Oklahoma. And Lincoln Riley's going to have his troops ready. Despite the fact that Oklahoma doesn't have Mr. Attitude problem, Baker Mayfield, who shouldn't. The Browns still made a mistake of drafting him. I'm going to say it now. You got to give Texas credit. They're going to have a team ready. This year, they got USC in Austin at home. Then they got to face TCU. That's not easy. Oklahoma on the 6th of October. That's going to be a nightmare. I would really hate to have to face those guys anywhere, anytime. Last year in the Big 12. The Big 12 is not an easy conference, folks. And the bottom line is, the University of Texas and the Texas Longhorns are really going to have to show up this season if they want to be legit in the conference. And that's all there is to it. The next team I'm going to have on my watch list, Notre Dame. Notre Dame, they finished 10-3 last year with a victory in the Citrus Bowl. I got 3 big games for Notre Dame on my watch list. Yes, I'm happy to announce that the Michigan-Notre Dame series is temporarily coming back. They have Michigan on the 1st of September, the first week of the season. And then on September 29th, they got to face Stanford. I'd hate to have to face a Stanford Cardinal anywhere, anytime. And then on the 24th of November, they're at USC. Brian Kelly says he's going to have his Notre Dame troops ready. He says he's going to have his guys ready. Will Notre Dame be ready? Last year in the opening game of the season at home, they lost to Georgia 20-19 because Kirby Smart came ready to play. What will Notre Dame do this year? Will they actually go undefeated? But I'm telling you, Notre Dame usually has a cupcake schedule. But in the middle of that cupcake schedule, they've got 3 very hard teams. Like I said, they got Michigan in the home opener. Then they got Stanford on the 29th of September. And then they got USC on the 24th at the Coliseum. They got to go to the Coliseum. And I'll tell you, the LA Coliseum is not a fun place to play if you're a visiting team. Because USC will come ready. And I'm telling you, Notre Dame USC is always a battle. And this year, it's not going to be any different. And that's all there is to it. Now, we've talked about the teams outside of the Big Ten. Let's go into the Big Ten. Who's going to be next on the watch list? Doo-dee-doo. Oh, let's talk about Michigan. They finished 8-5 last season. You know what? Back up. I'm going to talk about Michigan State first. I'm going to come back to Michigan, but then I'm going to go to Ohio State. Let's go with Michigan State real quick. Last year, Michigan State, they recovered from the 2016 dismal nightmare to have a really great season last year. Mark D'Antonio led his Michigan State Spartans to a 10-3 record, one of the best for the school in a long time. However, Michigan State has 3 big battles on their schedule, and they are Penn State on October 13th. That's going to be a battle. Michigan on the 20th of October. Ohio State, November 10th. Michigan State's always played those 3 teams very tough. James Franklin's lost 9 defensive starters, and he's lost a lot of good guys. He's lost Saquon Barkley. He lost Mike Gesicki from last year. So literally, James Franklin's going to have to rebuild for Penn State. For Michigan, Jim Harbaugh is just going to be starting from scratch. For Ohio State, They lost J.T. Barrett. They lost 3 defensive ends, but they do have Mike Weber coming back, and J.K. Dobbins. He's got Mike Weber coming back. There's good news right there for Ohio State. We'll see. And now these 3 tests for Michigan State will prove if they deserve to run with the big dogs in the Big Ten. And that's all there is to it. And I'm going to tell you, if Michigan State can beat 2 of these 3 teams, they're going to be in the driver's seat to play for a Big Ten championship. If they can beat all 3, they'll be playing for the Big Ten title, in my opinion. If they can do well with the rest of their schedule, but these 3 matchups, I have Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State. Michigan State's going to have their hands full. Mark D'Antonio says he's going to have his troops. He's going to have his troops ready. Only time will tell that. Now, let's go to Ohio State. Now, for Ohio State, they finished 12-2 last year in the Big Ten. Finished 12-2 overall. They lost a bad one to Iowa last season. Now, I've got 3 games they really need to watch out for. Penn State, September 29th. I talked about that already the other day. Ohio State lost J.T. Barrett. They lost their 3 best defensive ends, but they got Mike Weber and J.K. Dobbins. They got Mike Weber coming back. Penn State, they lost Saquon Barkley, Mike Gesicki. They lost 9 defensive starters. But the good news is they got Trace McSorley coming back, and their running back Miles Sanders coming back. For Michigan, that's the big one. The rivalry game. That's a hard one for Ohio State. They've dominated the rivalry. Jim Harbaugh cannot beat cannot beat Michigan as a coach. He can beat them as a player, but he can't get the job done as a coach. And the other game I have on the watch list for Ohio State is TCU on September 15th. This is a very important one for Ohio State in a non-conference schedule, because TCU is trying to prove they can run it with the Big 12, with the dogs of the Big 12. So whoever wins this non-conference game is really going to prove that they deserve to be in the drive, have a shot at the national title. And that's all there is to it. So, and now you got to think about Michigan State too. And they got to face Michigan State. I forgot to write that down. My apologies there. If they face Michigan State, look out, because Urban Meyer and Mark D'Antonio know it's going to be a battle all the way to the end of the game. So let's think about it. 4 tough games for Ohio State, and anything can happen, and it usually does. Now, the last one I want to talk about is Michigan, and I'm saving this for last because I'm going to address a little extra something else too. Michigan, they finished 8-5 last year in the Big Ten. Their schedule's not easy. They got to go to South Bend and face Notre Dame on the first of the month, on the 1st of September. Then on October 13th, they got to face Wisconsin in the Big House. Then they got Michigan State on October 20th. October 20th, they got to go to East Lansing. Then they got to come to Columbus on November 24th to face Ohio State. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to keep it simple. Jim Harbaugh is really, really, really on the hot seat. Because let's think about it. For Michigan, if Jim Harbaugh loses to both Michigan State and Ohio State, he's done. He's 1-6 against Ohio State and Michigan State. The only win was against Michigan State in a blowout back in 2016. Since then, he can't beat Ohio State. They lost to him in overtime. He's lost to Michigan State in every which way possible. The botch punt 3 years ago, nobody in Ann Arbor's forgotten that. They're probably ready to go in the bathroom and ready to throw up just thinking about it. However, if Jim Harbaugh in Michigan does not beat Ohio State or Michigan State this year, Harbaugh is out the door, because they will not tolerate losing so many games to their arch rival. No athletic director, no university president will put up with that. Now I'm telling you, Jim Harbaugh, your job is on the line this year. You're on the hot seat. If you lose to both Michigan State and Ohio State, he's done. And that's all there is to it. And I'll say it last year, in the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan had a chance to get the job done against Ohio State. They couldn't do it. And I'm telling you, Harbaugh's job is on the line. And the season starts here in about a couple months. And Jim Harbaugh's job He's literally coaching for it. This season, Harbaugh is going to be the one coaching for his job. He loses to Notre Dame. If he loses to Michigan State and even Ohio State, he's done. That's all there is to it. And I'm going to tell you something. He's losing players right and left. He's going to be lucky to have a team that's hardly worth bragging about. And that's just some food for thought on this day. Keep in mind, August and September are going to be here before we know it. And the college football season is going to get wild and crazy. All right, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in this morning, and thank you for joining me here this morning. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Scott Manning. Just look for this beautiful face. Type my name down. Just type my name. Look for this pretty face, and you'll see all the sports videos I've done so far. I want to thank you guys for taking some time with me here this morning, and you guys have a great day. I thank you so much, and you guys have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you.